You know, a single day's news can feel like 1,000 puzzle pieces thrown on a table. You've got geopolitics over here, the economy over there, tech news. They all seem like separate things. But when you start to connect them, a much bigger, interconnected story starts to take shape. Today, we're going to put together the puzzle of just one day, Tuesday, March 17th, 2026, to see exactly what picture it reveals.
Every big story, every chain reaction, it has a starting point, right? A single domino that tips over and sends ripples out in every single direction. And for this particular Tuesday, that first domino was a conflict that had the entire world just holding its breath.
And then, bam, this quote lands. A total bombshell resignation coming from the absolute heart of the U.S. national security team. This one sentence, it's not just a sign of a crisis, it's exposing these huge cracks at the very highest levels of the government. This is where our story really kicks off.
So the epicenter of everything that's happening today is this U.S. war with Iran. And the first, most immediate consequence wasn't felt on a battlefield. Oh no, it was felt in the global markets.
So as soon as the conflict starts choking off the Strait of Hormuz, which is like a superhighway for global energy, oil prices just shot up. You can see it right here. Brent crude, that's the big global benchmark, it blew past $100 a barrel. Now this isn't just some number on a chart. This is the first major economic ripple. And trust me, it's about to hit everybody's wallet.
Okay, so that first jolt from the oil prices, it quickly snowballs into a much bigger economic shockwave. With energy costs going through the roof, central banks and markets are now officially on high alert, just bracing for whatever comes next.
And I mean, talk about dramatic timing. The Fed is literally in the middle of its big two-day policy meeting. Just a few weeks ago, the whole debate was about when they were going to cut interest rates. Now, the war has completely flipped the script. A rate hold is pretty much a done deal.
And with all this uncertainty, this old ghost from the 1970s has floated back into the conversation, stagflation. It's a word that makes economists, well, very nervous, and for good reason. So, what on earth is it?
Stagflation is the absolute worst of both worlds. Seriously, just imagine the economy slamming on the brakes so growth stalls and unemployment starts to creep up, but, and this is the crazy part, at the exact same time, the prices for everything you buy are still going up. It's this toxic cocktail that is incredibly hard for anyone to fix. Why? Because the usual fix for high prices, raising interest rates, just makes the stalled economy even worse.
And here's why you should care about some dusty old economics term. For regular people, stagflation means your money just doesn't go as far. Your paycheck isn't growing, but your bills are, and finding a new job gets a lot tougher. It's a painful squeeze that everybody feels.
Now, while the economy is shaking, let's pivot to the political drama. Because back in Washington, the pressure of this war is cracking open these deep divisions right inside the government itself.
So, on one side of this split, you have President Trump. He's projecting strength, and he's basically dismissing longtime allies. After European leaders said no thanks to joining the war, he takes this super defiant stance, pretty much insisting the U.S. never needed NATO's help anyway.
And that just perfectly sets up the other side. Just as the president is out there defending the war, his own counterterrorism director, Joe Kent, resigns and drops this letter. He's directly contradicting the White House, claiming there was no imminent threat and that the whole thing was started because of pressure from Israel. I mean, it is a stunning public break. And look, the war isn't the only fire they're trying to put out. On this exact same day, the House subpoenas the Attorney General over the Epstein files, and some key testimony on Iran gets postponed. It really paints a picture of an administration under a ton of pressure from all sides.
But here's what's so interesting. While Washington is completely consumed by this crisis, the world of tech and industry, it doesn't stop. In fact, all this pressure is actually forcing some major shifts and speeding up innovation.
Just look at the high-stakes race for AI dominance. On one side, you have Apple, kind of fighting this perception that it's falling behind. On the other, you've got Microsoft, totally reorganizing its AI division to let its top minds focus on building the next big thing. The race is definitely on. And this innovation isn't just happening in software. A company called Gecko Robotics lands a huge Navy contract to use AI for ship repair. That's a direct result of global tensions. Tesla signs a multi-billion-dollar deal for batteries, and Nissan starts shipping US-made cars back to Japan. Every one of these is a huge strategic move, all forced by this changing world.
So what does all this tell us? It shows that a crisis doesn't just happen in a bubble. For every risk that pops up, smart companies are out there looking for an opportunity. This global uncertainty is actually hitting the gas on innovation in defense, in energy, and in how we make things.
Okay, so we've seen the global ripples, we've seen the big picture, but how does all of this, a war, an oil shock, political drama, how does it actually connect back to our daily lives, to the financial decisions that you and I have to make?
All right, let's start with housing. This number, 19,000, it's a big deal. It's the number of new missing middle housing units, think townhouses, duplexes, that started getting built last year. That's the highest it's been since 2007. And while that sounds great for supply, builders are saying their number one worry is affordability. And all this economic uncertainty we've been talking about, it's a major headwind for anyone thinking of buying a home.
And when the big picture feels kind of chaotic, what do we all do? We tend to focus on what we can actually control. And that usually means our own money. People just get smarter and more strategic with it.
And this is a perfect example of that. On this same Tuesday, a report came out showing how people are squeezing every last drop of value out of their credit card perks. They're planning travel with points, using built-in trip insurance, grabbing those big sign-up bonuses, and using statement credits to cut down on costs. It's basically a masterclass in how to adapt your finances when times are uncertain.
And so there you have it. It all comes full circle. We started with a high-level resignation over a distant war, which led to the price of oil spiking, which influenced the Fed's decisions, which pushed companies to innovate, and finally, it trickled all the way down to the small, smart choices we all make with our own money. It really is all connected. Which just leaves one final question for you. When the world feels this chaotic, where do you see the biggest ripples in your own life?